Have you ever found yourself obsessively thinking about someone you don't even want to have a romantic relationship with? It's a feeling that many of us experience, yet few can explain. It's like there's no deep connection, no sense of true love, just an overwhelming, almost magnetic sexual attraction. It might be someone you barely know, or someone you can never truly have, like a celebrity, a taken person, or someone who's simply out of reach. This force of attraction feels intense, almost uncontrollable. In the moment, you don't even see yourself being in a long-term relationship with them, yet your mind seems to say, let's obsess over them for the next 24 hours, regardless of whether it leads anywhere. Now, let's be clear. This feeling isn't love. Love is something far deeper and more meaningful, something that grows through connection, emotional intimacy, and shared experiences. But this is different. This is an intense, almost overwhelming sexual attraction, the kind that makes your thoughts spiral out of control, making it hard to focus on anything else. You start fantasizing, daydreaming, even replaying moments over and over in your mind. Fantasies that are both tantalizing and frustrating, because deep down, you know it's never going to happen. So, what is this all about? And when will this feeling fade away? More importantly, what can you do to stop yourself from getting lost in this cycle? Before we dive into solutions, let's take a step back and analyze why this happens in the first place. If you understand the underlying processes of sexual attraction and the stages your brain goes through, it will start to make sense. You'll be able to regain control of your emotions and mind, instead of feeling swept away by them. The good news is, you're not alone in this experience, and this video is here to break it all down. Our goal isn't to label you or make you feel ashamed of these feelings. Instead, we want to offer clarity, insight, and self-understanding. Sometimes, just knowing what you're feeling and why you're feeling it is enough to loosen its grip on you. So, let's dive in, shall we? We're going to explore 8 stages of sexual attraction. Each stage builds on the one before it, and by the end, you'll have a clearer understanding of what's going on in your brain. And perhaps with this understanding, you'll feel more empowered to break free from this cycle. Stage 1. The spark. It all starts with a spark, a fleeting glance, a photo, a brief interaction. You might not expect it, but suddenly you're struck by an intense physical attraction. It doesn't feel deep, but it's primal. You're not thinking about a long-term relationship or a future together. No, that's not on your mind. It's something more immediate, more visceral. This is the moment when your brain gets flooded with dopamine, that chemical that's responsible for reward and pleasure. Dopamine lights up the brain's reward center, the same area activated by addictive substances. This rush of dopamine can cause your mind to fixate on the person, even if you have no intention of pursuing anything further. It's an instinctive reaction, hardwired into us to make us pay attention to things that might be important, even if we don't fully understand why. Stage 2. Idealization. Now you start imagining all sorts of scenarios. Your thoughts become increasingly sensual, and your mind drifts into daydreams. Even though you know, deep down, that these fantasies will likely never come to fruition, you can't stop yourself. You begin to idealize them, imagining them as perfect. They might have one attractive trait, maybe their smile or their charm, and you blow it out of proportion. You start to believe that if they're attractive in one way, they must be perfect in other ways too. This is known as the halo effect, where one positive trait leads you to assume that the person has other desirable qualities. In reality, this is all in your head. Your brain is simply trying to create a connection, and it uses whatever means necessary to increase the chances of intimacy. So, you ignore any potential flaws or red flags. It's not logical, it's primal and chemical. Your brain is making you believe that you're forming a connection, even if it's based solely on superficial qualities. Stage 3. Obsession. At this point, things begin to escalate. You start thinking about them constantly. You check their social media profiles, wonder what they're doing, and wish you could get closer to them. But this isn't love. It's dopamine, and it's addictive. Your brain is hooked on the rush it gets when you think about them. This is where obsession sets in. You're not just attracted to them, you're fixated on them. It's like your brain can't get enough, and the more you crave contact, the more you want to know about them. This isn't unique to attraction. Obsessive thinking is a well-known pattern in addiction and obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist, explains how dopamine plays a central role in both romantic attraction and obsession, activating the same brain pathways involved in addiction. Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz, a psychiatrist, adds that imbalances in neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin can cause the brain to get stuck on certain thoughts and behaviors. This obsessive thinking is exactly what happens when you're intensely attracted to someone, even if it's not healthy. Stage 4. Fantasy and projection. By now, your fantasies have taken on a life of their own. It's not just about how attractive they are anymore. Your thoughts have become more vivid and intense. You start imagining sexual scenarios that go far beyond anything realistic. The fantasies grow wilder, more extreme, and more vivid as time passes. You may even start to believe that they would feel the same way if the opportunity ever arose. But here's the catch. You're not actually seeing them for who they are. Instead, you're projecting your own desires and fantasies onto them. This is where lust takes over, especially if there's someone you'll never have access to, like a celebrity or a person who's already in a relationship. You might even start fantasizing about sexual experiences that are entirely out of reach. But that's the thing. These fantasies aren't about them at all. They're about what you want them to be. Freud once explained that we often project our unmet desires and needs onto others, and research supports this idea. The brain fills in the gaps with fantasies of sexual satisfaction, often ignoring the reality of the person you're attracted to. At this stage, the obsession isn't about romance. It's about fulfilling that raw sexual desire, even if there's no chance of a real relationship. Stage 5. Emotional frustration. The next stage is where reality starts to set in. You've developed these intense sexual feelings, but then you realize that the object of your desire is completely out of reach. Maybe they're a celebrity, or maybe they're in a committed relationship. You've built up all these fantasies, but deep down, you know it's never going to happen. And that's when emotional frustration kicks in. You feel the tension between your fantasies and the reality of the situation. The excitement you once felt starts to fade because the fantasy is no longer aligned with reality. Research shows that when we fixate on someone who is unavailable, our brain's reward system continues to fire, but it becomes less satisfying over time. The more your desires go unfulfilled, the less exciting the experience becomes. This leads to a drop in dopamine levels, and the sexual attraction begins to fade. Stage 6. Withdrawal. By now, you may begin to detach, either by choice or because you're just emotionally worn out. This detachment can bring feelings of embarrassment, confusion, or sadness, but it's also a sign that your nervous system is returning to balance. Research by Dr. Pankap suggests that our brains naturally work to restore equilibrium when we go through emotional distress. This withdrawal phase is just a part of that process. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's ultimately a healthy step toward emotional regulation. Stage 7. Clarity. As the fog begins to lift, you start seeing things more clearly. You might realize that the attraction was never really about them. It was about something inside of you. Maybe it was loneliness, curiosity, or a desire for escapism. Understanding this brings insight. Research suggests that we often project our unmet emotional needs onto others, especially during times of vulnerability. Once you recognize your emotional needs, you'll have more clarity about what you're really seeking. This stage offers valuable insights into your emotional landscape, helping you understand what you're truly searching for, whether that's love, companionship, or something else entirely. Stage 8. Integration. Finally, you arrive at integration, where you reclaim your power. At this point, you've gained insight into the impulse without being controlled by it. You realize that lust is a completely natural human response, and there's no shame in feeling it. The difference is that now, you're not letting it run the show. Understanding the stages of sexual attraction helps you ride the wave instead of getting swept under it. Lust might be loud and overpowering, but it doesn't have to define you.